Good day, everyone. We are the Group 6 who will report the entire Chapter 7 entitled Work, Design, and Measurement. I am Rain Maxwell T. Maranan.
Mariam B. Malakad.
Noraline G. Makasasak.
Mechi Morphil and insert Leah Makaumbos, and we are the BSA 11KA2. The learning objectives of Chapter 7: first, importance of work design; 2, basic approaches to job design; 3, advantage and disadvantage of specialization; 4, knowledge-based pay; 5, method analysis and method studies; 6, for-use techniques for motion study.
The importance of work design is underscored by an organization's dependence on human efforts to accomplish its goals. Furthermore, many of the topics of this chapter is relevant especially for productivity improvement and continuous improvement.
Once again, my name is Mariam B. Malakad and my learning objectives are the following. First, to know the different working conditions that affect workers' performance. Second, is to know the variety of approaches to compensate employees.
Quality of work life. Basically, people work for a variety of reasons. But one of the main reasons why people work is because of money, to earn for a living. With this, we can buy everything we need and wants. We can buy clothes, food, house, car, and everything. But having money is not easy as 1, 2, 3. We literally need to work hard for this. Quality of work life has several key aspects. And among those key aspects is getting along well with coworker and having good managers. Getting along with your coworkers is a must in any business organization. Having a good relationship with them will enable you to be comfortable in your work, and also to have an effective communication with them that will lead to the betterment of the business. Having good managers can also contribute greatly to the quality of work life. Having someone who effectively manages the people and the operation is important because it only means that the business is doing great because it has someone who managing the business well. In quality of work life, leadership style is also important. You must be someone who lead others and motivate them to be constantly good in what they are doing. Next is working conditions. Working conditions are an important aspect of job design because it can have a significant impact on worker performance in terms of productivity, quality of output, and accidents. So the first working conditions that an organization needs to consider is the temperature and humidity. Although we can function under a fairly wide range of temperatures and humidity, our work performance are still greatly affected. For example, we are working in a very hot location. Instead of focusing on our work, we feel bothered, distracted, and annoyed on the sweats that is dripping on our skin. That instead of functioning well, we are finding way to relieve ourselves from the heat that we are feeling, hence slowing down our work. That is why it is important that the organization find the right temperature and humidity in the workplace in which the workers are comfortable and can work effectively. Next working condition is ventilation. Unpleasant odors can be distracting and dangerous to workers. But what is alarming are the dangerous odors that may harm the workers, like toxic smoke and so on. That's why it's a must that workers are equipped with proper tools like masks to avoid inhaling harmful odors. Third working condition is illumination. The amount of illumination required depends on the work that is being performed. The more detailed the work, the higher the level of illumination needed for an adequate performance. For example, you are working in mobile phone company. In assembling the phone, the worker will need a higher level of illumination because of small parts that phone has. Having so little light while doing this work might cause you to miss small details and to misplay parts. Also, to avoid accidents, it's also a must to have good lighting in halls, stairways, and other dangerous points. For example, having so little lighting on halls might cause the worker to bump into dangerous equipment, or walking to a dim stairs might cause them to stumble and fall. Very dangerous. The fourth working conditions are noise and vibrations. Noise are the unwanted sound. It is caused by human and equipments. It can be because of your coworker talking loudly to her boyfriend during working hours, or it can be because of the noise from a working machine. Whatever it is, what I can say only about noise, it is annoying and very distracting. What is worse is that it can actually damage our sense of hearing if it's loud enough. Vibrations, on the other hand, can exist without noise component. It can come from tools, machines, vehicles, human activity, air conditioning system, pumps, and other sources. To avoid this, corrective measures can be applied like padding, stabilizers, shock absorbers, cushioning, and rubber mountings. The fifth working conditions is the work time and work breaks. Having reasonable and flexible work time can provide a sense of freedom or control over one's work. This is useful in situations where emphasis is on completing work on a timely basis and meeting performance objective rather than being on duty for a given time interval. Work breaks is also important. It helps the employees to be rested for a while and to recharge in order to function well. Similarly, periodic vacations break can give workers something to look forward to, a change of pace, and a chance to recharge themselves and their body. The sixth working condition is the occupational health care. Healthy worker means healthy business. Having healthy workers contribute to productivity, minimizes healthcare costs, and enhances workers' sense of well-being. That is why many organizations engage in having exercise and healthy eating programs to improve or maintain employees' fitness and general health. The seventh working conditions is safety. Worker safety is one of the most basic issues in job design. This area needs constant attention from management, employees, and designer. Basically, accidents are both unwanted by employers and workers because according to employer, accidents are expensive. They usually involve damage to equipment, require hiring, training, and makeup work. Aside from being costly, they interrupt work. On the other hand, workers don't feel motivated when they feel that they are in physical danger. Because workers see accidents as physical suffering, mental anguish, potential loss of earnings, and disruption of the work routine. Basically, there are two causes of accident. It can be because of workers' carelessness or accident hazards. Example of workers' carelessness is failing to use protective equipments. For example, you do a very dangerous work without wearing protective gears. There might be instant that since you are not wearing protective gears, you can easily harm physically. Another cause is accident hazard. This can occur due to poorly lit walkways, stairways, and loading docks. To avoid this involves the use of proper lighting, clearly marked dangerous zone, use of protective equipment, and so on. But sometimes, simply cleaning the workplace can help to avoid accidents. In order to avoid accidents and implement safety, needs the cooperation of both the employers and the workers. Workers must be trained in proper procedures and attitudes, and when there is a problem, they can simply point it out to the management. Management, on the other hand, must inform safety procedures and safety equipments. Poster can also be effective if they communicate specific ways to avoid accidents. For example, posting posters with statement, "Wear hard hats on this area." Lastly, is the enactment of Occupational Safety and Health Act in 1970 and the creation of the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. This emphasizes the importance of safety in an organization system design. It ensures that workers in an organization have healthy and safe working conditions. If the organization fails to meet their standard, OSHA officials can issue warnings, impose fines, and even to invoke court order shutdown for unsafe conditions. Last component of working condition is ethical issues. It greatly affects operations through work methods, working conditions, and employee safety, accurate record keeping, unbiased performance appraisal, and fair compensation. For example, making biased decision for one's benefit can have a profound impact on the goodwill of the company as well as its market position. Next topic is compensation. Compensation is a significant issue for the design of work system. It can affect how the employees will perform in the organizations. That is why it is important for organizations to develop suitable compensation plans for their employees. Take note that if wages are too low, organizations may find it difficult to attract and hold competent workers and managers because most employees seek a work that pays high amount of money. On the other hand, if wages are too high, the increased cost may result in lower profits or may force the organization to increase its prices. And when the product's price increases, the demand for the organization, products, or services will decrease. Organization use a variety of approaches to compensate employees. The first one is the time-based system, also known as hourly and measured day work system. It is a general approach that recognizes the importance of time and seeks to reduce the level of wasted time in the production processes of a business. In here, employees are paid for the amount of time they spend at work. In here, the wages rates are fixed for an hour, a day, week, a month, or even a year. For example, per hour, a worker is paid 550 pesos. So if he or she work for 8 hours, he will earn 4,320 pesos. The other approaches of compensating employees is the output-based system. In this approach, employees are compensated according to the amount of output they produce during a pay period, thereby paying directly based on performance. For example, for every t-shirt sewed and created, the seamstress will earn 30 pesos. And if she finish 20 pieces of t-shirt, she will earn 600 pesos. In here, the seamstress earned according to the number of outputs she created. So what are the advantages and disadvantages of time-based and output-based to the management and worker? In time-based system, the advantages of this approach is the stable labor costs. They have stable expenditures in terms of labor because workers are paid on fixed rate based on time. Second, it is easy to administer and simple to compute pay because all you have to consider is the time the workers work and the fixed rate of money. Lastly is stable output. The amount of final goods or services to produce is more stable in terms of number. One disadvantage of time-based to management is no incentive for workers to increase output, meaning workers are not motivated to increase the number of output they produce. As for the workers, the advantages of time-based is that the workers have stable pay. They are not pressured to produce more outputs because the payment is based on the time they work, not on the number of outputs. Meaning, even they slow down in producing outputs, as long as they are working during the work hours, their payment is still the same. However, the downside of the time-based to workers is that extra efforts are not rewarded. Meaning, even if you produce more output compared to others, you are still paid the same. Next is the output-based system. The advantage of this approach to management is they paid lower cost per unit. And because of its goal, great number of output are produced, which means more income to have. However, compared to time-based, it has a lot of disadvantages. First, the wage computation is more difficult. It is harder because of the need to measure the number of output produced. In this approach, the quality of product may suffer because of the need to produce more output. Workers finish the product without minding whether the quality of how it is made is already good or not. Other disadvantages is the difficulty to incorporate wage increases, and they might have increased problem with scheduling. As for the workers, the advantage of output-based is that they are paid related to their efforts. That's why, if you work hard to produce more outputs, you will earn high amount of money. However, if you produce less, you will also earn less. However, the disadvantage is that pay fluctuates and worker may be penalized because of factors beyond their control. Seeing that time-based has more advantages and the output-based has more disadvantages, it is said that time-based is more commonly used by organizations compared to output-based. Another approach is individual incentive plan. In this approach, it intends to reward individual workers based on reaching certain performance goals. For example, is giving a salesperson a bonus for reaching a specified production level or even exceeding it. In here, the worker's productivity does not depend on the performance of others. He or she can work independently and has complete control over outcomes. As for the group incentive plans, it is designed to reward each member of a team or organization for a joint accomplishment such as improving profitability or reducing expenses. From the word group, you are working here as a team, not as an individual. An example is a profit-sharing program where all workers are rewarded based on the company's ability to reach an overall profitability goal. Next approach is knowledge-based pay system. The concept of knowledge-based pay system focuses on an individual employee's ability to improve their education to increase salary or other compensation. As the employee increases their scope of knowledge, the employee can generally take on more complicated projects on behalf of the company. So in here, the more knowledgeable you are, the more you can earn higher incentives. This system can encourage employees to become lifelong learners, which can help a company to maintain its edge in the industry. Knowledge-based pay system has 3 dimensions, namely the horizontal skills, vertical skills, and depth skills. First is horizontal skills. It reflects the variety of tasks the workers is capable of doing. For example, a factory manager might reassign a machine operator to a different department. Despite of being transferred, the machine operator can still perform well to the new department because of his flexibility to do different tasks. Second is vertical skills. It reflects the managerial tasks the worker is capable of doing. For example, is that the worker can effectively manage the operation of the business. At the same time, he or she can also manage the people under him very well. Lastly is depth skills. It reflects the quality and productivity results. This means that a worker has a high level of skills in specialized area, producing a high quality of product and services. In management compensation, the financial payments and non-monetary benefits provided to high-level management in exchange for their work on behalf of the organization. This approach is more focused on rewarding and increasing the compensation of managers and top executives rather than those normal workers. Because of the big amount of money that the company is losing, high numbers of workers were being laid off. Lastly are the recent trends. This includes all the current approaches that most organizations make use in the present. Some make use of compensation systems that emphasize flexibility and performance objectives. Others use of profit-sharing plans or bonuses based on achieving profit or cost goals, while others are placing more emphasis on quality of work of life. Whatever approach the organization are going to use, the ideal compensation packages is one that balances motivation, profitability, and retention of good employees.
Once again, I am Mitchie Marfil, and my intended learning outcomes: first, to know what is job design and to know the elements of job design.
Job design. Job design is the act of specifying the contents and methods of jobs. So means job design focus on what, who, how, and where the job will be done. The objective of job designs include productivity, safety, and quality of work life. Job design currently practiced in job design contains element of two basic school of thoughts. First, efficiency, and the second is behavioral. Efficiency, it emphasizes a systematic logical approach to job design, while behavioral, it emphasizes satisfaction of wants and needs. According to Frederick Winslow Taylor, the efficiency is the scientific management concept received considerable emphasis in the past, while behavioral approach flow and has continued to make inroads into many aspects of design. Next is specialization. Specialization work that concentrates on some aspect of a product or service. The main rationale for specialization is the ability to concentrate one's efforts and thereby become proficient at that type of work. So, means specialization, sometimes the amount of knowledge or training required of a specialist and the complexity of the work suggests that individuals who choose such work are very happy with their jobs. And next, behavioral approaches to job design. Behavioral approaches to job design is an effort to make jobs more interesting and meaningful. And we have kinds of behavioral approaches to job design. First is the job enlargement. Second is the job rotation, and third, job enrichment. First, the job enlargement. The job enlargement is giving a worker a larger portion of the total task by horizontal loading, while the job rotation means having workers periodically exchange job, while job enrichment increasing responsibility for planning and coordinations by vertical loading. As you can see, job enlargement and job enrichments are also used in lean operations, where workers are cross-trained to be able to perform a wider variety of tasks and given more authority to manage their job. Why is the this is important? Because the importance of these approaches to job design is that they have the potential to increase the motivational power of jobs and increasing worker satisfaction through improvement in the quality of work life. Many firms are currently involved in or seriously considering programs related to quality of work life. First, the motivation. Motivation is a key factor in many aspects of work life. Why motivation it is important? Because this factor can help management to develop a motivational framework that encourages workers to respond in a positive manner to the goals of the organization. And the another factor that influences motivation and productivity and employee management relation is the trust. The trust between worker and managers. Next is the teams. The teams is it the effort of business organization to become more productive, competitive, and customer-oriented have caused them to rethink how work is accomplished. These teams is one of important in our job or in the job because if we have a team in our job or as in our job, it is easily to accomplish the task or the what job assigned in your team. The two different forms of team. First, short-term team. Short-term team formed to collaborate on a topic such as quality improvement, product or service design, or solving a problem. Second is the long-term team. Long-term team that is increasingly being used especially in lean product setting is the self-directed team. What is self-directed teams? Sometimes referred to as self-management team. This is the group empowered to make certain changes in their work process. Robert Bakal. According to Robert Bakal, has a list of requirements for successful team building. First, clearly stated and commonly held vision and goals. Yes, of course, we need to apply these requirements to be successful your team building, because before you approve your team building, we need to know, or you need to know what is the vision of your team building and what is your goal of the team building. Next is the talent and skills required to meet goals. Yes, of course, in the team building we need to open our talent and skills to come up the goal of your team or of your team building activity. Next is clear understanding of the members' roles and function. Yes, of course, we need to clear and understand of our each member's roles and their function, to clarify each other and to get the good relationship to each other. Next is the efficient and shared understanding of procedures and norms. Of course, we need to share our thoughts or share our understanding to get the procedures of your team building activity. Next is the effective and skilled interpersonal relation. Of course, if we go in a team building, we need to open ourselves and we need to get a relationship to other team to make successful your team building and to be organized our team build or your team building, and to get the relation and know the every skills and know the every function of your other team or team building. Next is a system of reinforcement and celebration. Next is understanding of the team's relationship to the greater organization. Yes, of course. we comes in our team building or in your team building, we need to clear or we need to understand the other team relationship, and we need to open yourself to them and get the relationship to other organization or to other team to get the greater organization in your team building. That's all the list of requirements for successful team building. Next is ergonomics. Ergonomics is the incorporation of human factor in the design of the workplace. I have a picture there to discuss the correct form of your body when you encounters or when you doing your job design.
Once again, my name is Noraline G. Makasasa, and my learning objectives are: explain the purpose of method analysis and describe how method studies are performed, and second, compare 4 commonly used techniques for motion study.
So now, let's discuss about method analysis. It is one of the techniques used by the self-directed teams and work analysts. It focuses on how a job is done. Job design often begins with an analysis of the overall operation. It then moves from general to specific details of the job, concentrating on arrangement of the workplace and movements of the materials and workers. And because of that, method analysis can be a good source of productivity improvements. The need for method analysis can come from a number of different sources. First, changes in tools and equipment. Second, changes in product design or introductions of new products. Third, changes in materials or procedures. Fourth, government regulations or contractual agreements. And last, other factors like accidents, quality problems, and etc. Because like what I've said a while ago, method analysis process concerned with the detailed process for doing a particular jobs and or details the task and how to do them. Method analysis is done for both existing jobs and new jobs. For a new job, it is needed to establish a method to avoid any mistakes. And also, the analyst must rely on a job description and an ability to visualize the operation to make it successful. And for existing job, the procedure usually is to have the analyst observe the job as it is currently being performed and check if improvements are needed. There are basic procedures in method analysis. As you can see, all of them are posted on the slides. Businesses or companies use these basic procedures to make new improvements of their methods and to make the job possible. Now, let's discuss about selecting an operation to study. Sometimes a foreman or supervisor will request that a certain operation be studied. At other times, method analysis will be part of an overall program to increase productivity and reduce cost. And there are some general guidance for selecting a job to study. A job that have a high labor content. Second, job are done frequently. Third, jobs that are unsafe, tiring, unpleasant, and or noisy. And last, jobs that are designated as problems. Like for example, quality problems, processing, bottlenecks, and etc. Next, in documenting the current method. Businesses usually use chart, graphs, and verbal descriptions of how the job is being performed. This will provide them a good understanding of the job and serves as a basis of comparison against which revisions can be judged. Next, in analyzing the job and proposing new methods. Usually, job analysis requires careful thought about the what, why, when, where, and who of the job. Often, simply going through these questions will clarify the review process by encouraging the analyst to take a devil's advocate attitude toward both present and proposed methods. And usually, analyzing and improving methods are facilitated by the use of various charts, such as flow process charts and worker machine charts. For the flow process chart, It is used to review and critically examine the overall sequence of an operation by focusing on the movements of the operator or the flow of materials through department. This chart is helpful in identifying non-productive parts of the process, like for example delays, temporary storage, distances traveled, and etc. Next is for the worker-machine chart. It is helpful in visualizing the portions of a work cycle during which an operator and equipment are busy. The analyst can easily see when the operator and machine are working independently and when their work overlaps or interdependent. One use of this type of chart is to determine how many machines or how much equipment the operator can manage.
Next, installing the improved method. Successful implementation of proposed method changes requires convincing management of the desirability of the new method and obtaining the cooperation of workers. If workers have been consulted throughout the process and have made suggestions that are incorporated in the proposed changes, this part of the task will be considered as easier than if the analyst has assumed sole responsibility for the development of the proposal. If the proposed method constitutes a major change from the way the job has been performed in the past, workers may have undergone a certain amount of retraining and full implementation may take some time to achieve it. Last is the follow-up. In order to ensure that changes have been made and that the proposed method is functioning as expected, the analyst should review the operation after a reasonable period and consult again with the operator. So now, let's move on to motion study. Motion study is a systematic way of determining the best method of doing the work by scrutinizing the motions made by the worker or the machine. According to Frank Gilbreth, it is the science of eliminating the wastefulness due to unnecessary motions. Hence, motion study can be an important avenue for productivity improvements. There are a number of different techniques that motion study analysts can use to develop efficient procedures. The most used techniques are the following. First, motion study principles. Second, analysis of Terbligs. Third, micromotion study. And last, chart. Now let's discuss the first technique, which is the motion study principles. These principles are guidelines for designing motion-efficient work procedures, and these are divided into three categories. First is the principle for use of the body, second, principles for arrangement of the workplace, and last, principle for the design of tools and equipment. In developing work methods that are motion efficient, the analyst tries to first, eliminate unnecessary motions, second, combine activities, third, reduce fatigue, fourth, improve the arrangement of the workplace, and last, improve the design of tools and equipment. So now, let's move on to the second technique, which is the Terbligs. Terbligs are basic elemental motions. The term Terblig is Gilbreth spelled backward. The approach of this is to break jobs down into basic elements and base improvements on an analysis of these basic elements by eliminating, combining, or rearranging them. To simply understand, Terbligs comprise a system for analyzing the motions involved in performing a task, the identification of individual motions, as well as moments of delay in the process. This technique was designed to find unnecessary or inefficient motions and to utilize or eliminate even split seconds of wasted time. Although a complete description of Terbligs is outside the scope of this text, a list of some common ones will illustrate the nature of this basic elemental motion. First, search implies hunting for an item with the hands or the eyes. Select means to choose from a group of objects. Grasp means to take hold of an object. Hold refers to retention of an object after it has been grasped. Transport load means movement of an object after hold. And last, release load means to deposit the object. And some other Terbligs are inspect, position, plan, rest, and delay.
Describing a job using terbligs often take a substantial amount of work. However, for short, repetitive jobs, terblig analysis may be justified. And now let's move on to the third technique, which is the micromotion study. The technique of recording and analyzing the timing of basic elements of an operation with the objective of achieving the best method of performing the operation. Micromotion study technique is best suited for those operations or activities which are of short duration and which are repeated hundreds of times. These are the operation or motion which require very small time, and it is quite difficult to measure time for these motions accurately, and the time required by this motion cannot be neglected due to repetitive operations. In such activities, it is interesting to go into greater details in order to find out which movement and effort can be avoided. All this is done to develop the best possible pattern of movement so that the operator can perform the operations repeatedly with a minimum effort and fatigue. And the last technique is the chart. Analysts may use a SIMO chart to study simultaneous motions of the hands. These charts are invaluable in studying operations such as data entry, surgical and dental procedures, and certain assembly operations.
Once again, good morning. My name is Rain Maxwell T. Maranan, and my intended learning outcomes are the following. First, to define what is work measurement. Second, to know the four methods work measurement, namely as stopwatch study, standard elemental type, predetermined data, and work sampling. Third, to know and be familiarized to the different formulas in work measurement. Lastly, to solve the OT or observed time, NT normal time, ST standard time, AF allowance factor, and sample size.
Job design determines the content of a job, and method analysis determine how job is to be performed. Work measurement is concerned with determining the length of time it should take to complete the job. Job times are vital input for capacity planning, workforce planning, estimating labor costs, scheduling, budgeting, and design incentive system. For worker standpoint, time standard reflect the amount of time it should take to do a given job, working under typical condition. Standard time, the amount of time it should take a qualified worker to complete a specific task, working at sustainable rate using given methods, tools and equipment, raw materials, and workplace arrangement. Also, whenever a time standard is developed for a job, it is essential to provide complete description of parameter of the job because the actual time to do the job, it is sensitive to all factors in doing job. Methods of work measurement. Organization develop time standard in a number of different ways. Although some small manufacturers and service organization rely on subjective estimate of job time. But the most commonly used method of work measurement are the following: stopwatch study, historical time, predetermined data, and working sampling. First method is stopwatch time study. Was formally introduced by Frederick Wilson Taylor in the late 19th century. Today, it is the most widely used method of work measurement, especially appropriate for short and repetition of tasks. It is used to develop a time standard based on observation of one worker taken over a number of cycles. This then applied to the work of all others in the organization who perform same task. The basic steps in time study. First is define the task to be studied and inform the worker who will be studied. The observer who studies the job should thoroughly familiar within it. Since it is not familiar for workers to attempt to include extra motions during the study in hope of getting a standard that allows more time per pieces. The analysis should make an attempt to discuss these things with the worker prior to studying and operation to allay such fears and enlist cooperation of within the worker. Because workers sometimes feel uneasy about being studied and become fear that may result to changes. Second, determine the number of cycles to be observed. The observer should know how many cycles the worker needed to be observed. Next, the third one, time the job and rate of the worker's performance. The analysis will need to check if the job is being performed efficiently before setting the time standard. And lastly, compute standard time. After we gather the source data like time and rate of performance of the worker, the analysis can now make and compute a standard time. Number of cycle that must be time function in three things. First, the variability of observed time. Second, the desired accuracy. The greater the accuracy desired in the result, the larger should be the number of cycle observed. Third one, or the last, the desired level of confidence for the estimate job time. It is important that enough cycle or time so that the reliable average is be obtained. Sample size needed to achieve by determining this formula. N is equals to open close parentheses z times s over a times x bar squared, wherein z is equals to number of normal standard deviation needed for desired confidence. S is sample standard deviation. A is equal to desired accuracy percentage. X bar is equal to sample mean. Typical value of z used in desired confidence percentage 90, 95, 95.5, 98, 99, while the z value is 1.65, 1.96, 2, 2.33, and 2.58 respectively. The value of z for any desired confidence can be obtained from normal distribution table. Alternative formula. An alternative formula used when the desired accuracy E is stated as amount instead of a percentage. Example, within 1 minute of the true mean. Alternative formula state as n is equals to open close parentheses z times s over e squared, where e is maximum acceptable amount of time error. Example number 1. A time study analyst wants to estimate the time required to perform a certain job. A preliminary study yield a mean of 6.4 minutes and a standard deviation of 2.1 minutes. The desired confidence is 95%. How many observations will be needed, including those already taken, if the desired maximum error is A. Positive negative 10% of the sample mean, B. 1/2 minute. Solutions. Problem A. Given R, S is equals to 2.1 minute, Z is equals to 6.4 minute, X bar is equals to 1.96, and A is equals to 10%. The formula for sample size is close and open parentheses Z times S over A times X bar squared. So now we need to substitute the given to the formula. So after substituting, the equation will be close and open parentheses 1.96 times 2.1 over 0.10 times 6.4 squared. First, we need to times the numerator, the 1.96 to 2.1. So the answer will be 4.116. Next, we need to times the denominator, which is 0.10 times 6.4. So the answer will be 0.64. After we times the numerator and the denominator, so next is we need to divide it. So the answer will be 6.4.43125, and we need to square it. So the answer will be 41.36697656. Or this is for the problem B. The additional in the given is E is equals to 5 minutes. So the formula for alternative formula in solving sample mean is N is equals to open close parentheses Z times S over E squared. So now we need to substitute the given equation to the formula. So after substituting, the formula will be close and open parentheses 1.96 times 2.1 over 0.5 squared. So like in the first solution, we need to times the numerator, which is 1.96 times 2.1. The answer will be 4.116. After that, we need to divide the numerator to the denominator. The answer will be 8.232, and then we need to square it. So the answer will be 67.765924, or N is equals to 68. We need to round it off. Take note Take note, when the value of n is non-integer, we need to round it up. Development of a time standard involves computation of 3 times, which are OT or observed time, NT or normal time, and ST or standard time. First one is observed time. The observed time is simply the average of the record times. So the formula for observed time is OT is equal to the summation of xi over n, wherein OT is equals to observed time, summation of x equals the sum of the record, and n is equals to the number of the observations. Next computation is normal time. The normal time is the observed time adjusted for worker performance. It is computed by multiplying the OT or the observed time to the performance rate. The formula for normal time is equals to NT is equals to OT times PR, where NT is equals to normal time and PR is equals to performance rating. Here's another formula in NT. This assumes that the single performance rating has been made for the entire job. Its rating are made elements by element basis, or it is needed 2 times by the given unit to the performance rate. So the next formula is NT is equals to the summation of X times PR, wherein XI is the average time of the element and PRI is equals to performance rating for elements. Next one is the standard time. Standard time, the normal time, does not take into account such as factor as personal delays like drinking of water and going to the restroom, unavoidable delay, which is machine adjustment and repairs, talking to supervisor, and waiting for the materials, also the rest break. The standard time for a job is normal time multiplied by AF for the delays or the allowance for the delay. The formula for standard time is ST is equals to NT times AF, wherein ST is equals to standard time and AF is equals to allowance factor. Allowances can be either based on job time or time work. First is based on job time. If allowances are based on job time, the formula is equals to AF job is equals to 1 plus A. A will be allowances percentage based on job time. Also, this use or the job time will use when the different jobs have different allowances. On the other hand, is based on time work or AF days. If allowance are based on the percentage of time work, the formula is AF day is equals to 1 over 1 minus A. A will be allowance percentage based on work. Also, it will use when the jobs are the same or similar and have same allowances factor. Example number 2. Compute the allowance factor these 2 cases. First is A, the allowance is 20% of job time, and B, the allowance is 20% of time worked. Solution. Given A is equals to 0.20. So first we need to find the job time based on job time. The formula for job time is AF job is equals to 1 plus A, wherein we need to substitute the given to the formula, so the AF job will become 1 plus 0.20. So we need to add the 1 plus 0.20, so the AF job will become 1.21 or in percentage is 120%. Next is for the problem B. Now we need to find the allowance based on work time. AF day is equals to 1 over 1 minus A, so we need again to substitute the given. The given is A is equals to 0.20. So after substituting, the AF day will become 1 over 1 minus 0.20. So we need to subtract the denominator, which is 1 minus 0.20, so the answer will become 1 over 0.8. So again, we need to divide the numerator to the denominator. AF day will become 1.25, or in percentage will become 125%. This chart represents the given formula. On the first column is the observation and the second column is time or the in minutes. For Observation number 1, the time is 1.12. Observation number 2 is 1.15. Observation number 3 is 1.16. Observation number 4 is 1.25 minutes. Observation number 5 is 1.15. Observation number 6 is 1.18. Observation 7 is 1.14. Observation 8 is 1.14. And observation 9 is 1.19. So we need to find the OT, find the NT, and find the ST. Find the OT or observed time. The formula for OT is the summation of x over n. So to find x, we need to write all the times in terms of minutes, the 1.12 plus 1.15 plus 1.16 plus 1.12 plus 1.5 plus 1.18 plus 1.14 plus 1.14 and lastly plus 1.19 over 9. So after we add, we need to get the summation of x. The summation of x will become 10.35, and we need to divide to the value of n, or the observation, which is 9. So after we divide, the answer will become, the observed time is 1.15 minutes. Second one, we need to find the NT, or the normal time. The normal time is equals to observed time times performance rate. So the observed time we get while ago is 1.15 minutes. So we need to times it to 1.13 as of or being given. So 1.15 times 1.13, the normal time is equals to 1.30 minutes. So we will compute the other formula in normal time, which is ratings made by element. So the formula for that is the summation of x times PR. So first we need to times the x to the PR. So it's just like 1.112 times 1.13. The answer is 1.2656, and we need to do it from the observation 1 to 9. So after we times the x to the PR, we will need to get the sum or the summation of that. So the summation of x times PR is equals to 11.6955. After that, we need to divide it into 9, or the number of observation, and after we divide it, we will also arrive at the same answer which is 1.30 minutes. Standard elemental time. Time standard derived from a firm's historical time data. Over the years, a time study department can accumulate a file of elemental times that are common to many jobs. After a while, many elemental times can be simply retrieved from the file, eliminating the needs for analysis to go through a complete time study to obtain them. There are 4 procedures for using standard elemental times. Consists of the following step. First is analyze the job to identify the standard elements. Second, check the file for elements that have historical times and record them. Use the study to obtain others if necessary. Third, modify the file times. Lastly, sum the elemental times to obtain the normal time and factor in allowances to obtain the standard time. Advantages in standard elemental time. First is potential savings in cost and effort created by not having to conduct a complete time study for each job. Second is that there is less disruption of work, again because the analysis does not have to time the worker. And lastly, the performance rating do not have to be done. They are generally average in the file times. But however, if there is advantages, there is always a disadvantages. The disadvantage is times may not be exist for enough standard elements to make it worthwhile. Some file times may be biased or inaccurate. Lastly, we need to find the ST, or the standard time. The formula for standard time is normal time times the allowance factor, but before we solve the ST, we need to find first the AF. As the question state, we need to find AF based on job time. So the formula is 1 plus A. So Again, we need to substitute the given to the formula, which is 1 plus 0.20. So the answer of job time is 1.20 or 120%. After we solve the AF based on job time, now we can proceed to the ST. So ST is equals to NT, or the normal time times the allowance factor. So again, we need to substitute. So the substitute equation will be 1.30 times 1.20. So the answer of standard time will be 1.56 minutes. Predetermined time standard. Publish data based on extensive research to determine standard elemental times. Also, it is a work measurement technique whereby times established for basic human motions, classified according to the nature of the motion and the condition under which it is made, are used to build up the time for a job at a defined level of performance. Commonly used system is MTM, or Method Time Measurement, which was developed in late 1940s by the Methods Engineering Council based on extensive research of basic element motion and times. Next is TMU. TMU, or Time Measurement Units. Time of the basic element are measured in TMU. 1 TMU, or Time Measurement Units, is equals to 0.006 minutes. The last method of work measurement, which is working sampling, will be discussed furthermore by Miss Leah Macaumbos.
So hello, my name is Leah Macaumbos, and these are my 3 following objectives. So first, to know the meaning of work sampling and its primary uses. Second, to determine the number of sets of observations in the day, hours, and minutes. And the last is, the third one, is to know the importance of the design of work system and the quality of work life.
Work sampling and operation strategy. Work sampling simply means a technique for estimating the proportion of time that a worker or machine spends on various activities and the ideal time. Unlike time study, work sampling does not require timing an activity, nor does it even involve continuous observation of the activity. Instead, an observer makes brief observation of a worker or machine at random intervals and simply notes the nature of the activity. Work sampling is occasionally used to set time standards. It has 2 primary uses. First, the ratio delay studies, and second, the analysis of non-repetitive jobs. Ratio delay studies, which concerns the percentage of a worker's time that involves unavoidable delays, or the proportion of time a machine is idle. And the analysis of non-repetitive jobs typically involved a broader range of skills than repetitive jobs, and workers in these jobs are often paid on the basis of the higher skill involved. Therefore, it is important to determine the proportion of time spent on the high skill level. Work sampling estimates include some degree of error. Hence, it is important to treat work sampling estimates as approximation of the actual proportion of time devoted to a given activity. And work sampling can be used to verify those percentages, and can therefore be an important tool in developing the job description. In addition, work sampling can be part of a program for validation of job content that is needed for bona fide occupational qualification, which means that is advertised jobs requiring the skills that are specified. So the goal sampling has its goal, and its goal simply states that the goal of work sampling is to obtain an estimate that provides a specified confidence, not differing from the true value by more than a specified error. So for example, a hospital administrator might request an estimate of X-ray idle time that will provide a 95% confidence of being within 4% of the actual percentage. So hence, work sampling is designed to produce a value. So the variability associated with sample estimates tend to be approximately normal for large sample sizes. So the amount of maximum probable error is a function of both the sample size and the desired level of confidence. For large samples, the maximum error percent E can be computed using the following formula. E is equal to Z, the square root of P hat to the quantity of 1 minus p hat over n, where the z means the number of standard deviations needed to achieve desired confidence. The p hat is the sample proportion, in which the number of occurrences divided by the sample size, and n is the sample size. In most instances, management will specify the desired confidence level and the amount of allowable error, and the analyst will be required to determine a sample size sufficient to obtain these results. So, the appropriate value for n can be determined and can be computed by solving this formula, which n yields as n equals the quantity of z over e squared with a p hat in the quantity of 1 minus p hat. So, in determining the sample size, is only one part of work sampling, so the overall procedure consists of the following steps. First, clearly identify the workers or machines to be studied. So you need to identify and know the workers, or how many workers or how many machines are involved in the study. Second, notify the workers and supervisors of the purpose of the study to avoid arousing suspicions. Third, compute an initial estimate of sample size using a preliminary estimate of P, if available, because not all the times that the P is available. So if it isn't available or it isn't provided, otherwise use P hat is equals to 0.50. Fourth, develop a random observation schedule, because a careful problem definition could prevent mistakes such as observing the wrong worker or wrong activity. So it is also important to obtain random observations to get valid results. Fifth, begin taking observations, where compute the required sample size several times during the study. And sixth, determine the estimated proportion of time spent on the specified activity, because observations must be spread out over a period of time so that a true indication of variability is obtained. If observations are bunched too closely in time, the behaviors observed during that time may not genuinely reflect typical performance. In the determination of a random observation schedule, it involves the use of a random number table, which is a table consisting of unordered sequences of numbers used to determine random observation schedules. So within the use of these tables, it enables the analyst to incorporate randomness into the observation schedule. Numbers obtained from the table can be used to identify observations times from a study. Any size number can be obtained from the table. The digits are in groups of 4 for convenience only. The basic idea is to obtain numbers from the table and to convert each one so that it corresponds to an observation time. There are a number of ways to accomplish this. In the approach used here, you will obtain 3 sets of numbers from the table for each observation. The first set will correspond to the day, the second to the hour, and the third to the minute when the observation is to be made. The number of digits necessary for any set will relate to the number of days in the study, the number of hours per day, and the minutes per hour. If the study covers 47 days, a 2-digit number will be needed because it's 47. If the activity is performed for 8 hours per day, 8 one-digit number is needed for hours. Of course, since each hour has 60 minutes, so 60 minutes a 2-digit number will be needed for minutes. Thus, for example, if a study is requiring observations over a 7-day period in an office, it works 9 hours per day needs 1-digit numbers for days and 1-digit number for hours and 2-digit numbers for minutes. So 7 for days, 9 for hours, and 60 for minutes. So 1 digit, 2 digits. So this is a portion of a random number table. So we're going to look for the observations in the 6912, 3491, and 4715. So 6912 will be the basis of our days, which includes only 1 digit for days. So 6912. For the hours, the 3491, 3491, and we only need 3, right? So 349 will be only the included one. So next for the minutes is the 4715. Since the minutes includes 2-digit numbers, 47 and 15, we need to proceed to the next row column, which is the 2486. So 47, 15, and then 24. Because we only need 3 for the lines. So, in determining the days on which observations will be made, the hours, and finally the minutes, let's begin with the first row in the random number table and read across. So the first number is 6, which indicates day 6. The second number is 9. Since 9 is greater than 7 days on our last case, it is now finally excluded, or it exceeds the number, so it is simply ignored. The third number is 1, indicating the day 1, and the next is 2, indicating the day 2. So next column, the 3491, 3 is for the third hour, 4 for the fourth hour, and 9 for the ninth hour. And as you see, there's another one number. It is simply ignored already because we already have the 3, 4, and the 9. So moving to the next row and reading the 2-digit numbers, we find 47 means the 47th minute, 15 the 15th minute, because it already lacks number. Proceed to the next column, the 2486, 24 for the third is the 24th minutes. So, hence, the observations will be made like this. Next slide. So after we have done the determining and the identifying the days, the hours, and the minutes on which observations will be made, then finally we already have the sets, the number of sets for our observations. So, for the days, we have collected this. We have the day 6, the day 1, and the day 2. For the hours, we determine the third hour, the fourth hour, and the ninth hour. And for the minutes, we have read that we collected a 2-digit numbers of 47th minute, 15th minute, and the 24th minute. So those are the number of sets in the observations will be made on our study. So after we have collected all the number sets and the observations gathered from the random number table, we already concluded in this kind of table. So combining the results yields the following. So in this table it shows the day, the hour, and the minute. So for the day, we have the day 6, the day 1, and the day 2. For hour, we have the third hour, the fourth hour, and the ninth hour. For minutes, we have the 47th minute, the 15th minute, and the 24th minute. But on this table, to have a good look or a good comparison, we came into this. So for simplicity, these times we can put it or arrange it in a chronological order by day. So the day will be our basis, and the hour and the minute in which it is aligned to the day is still be followed. So day in a chronological order, we were going to start with the day 1, the day 2, and day 6, and for the hours and minutes, so on, as it follows on where it is aligned, or on where the day it is aligned. So this means that on day 1 of the study, an observation is to be made during the 15th minute of the 4th hour. On day 2, the study of an observation is to be made during the 24th minute of the 9th hour. And lastly, on the day 6, the study of an observation is to be made during the 47th minute of the 3rd hour. So that would be the schedule, the complete schedule of observations. So the general procedure for using a random number table is to read the numbers in some sequence, across rows, down or up columns, discarding any that lack correspondence. It is important to vary the starting point from one study to the next to avoid taking observations at the same times, because workers will quickly learn the times the observations are made, and the random picture would be lost. So in sum, the procedure for identifying random times at which to make observations or work sampling observations involves the following steps. So first step, determine the number of days in the study and the number of hours per day. You're going to look for the number of days involved and the number of hours per day. This will indicate the required number of digits for days and hours. Second, obtain the necessary number of sets for days, ignoring any sets that exceed the number of days. So if the first number is 6 and the next number is 9, but on the last case you already have 7 days, you're going to ignore the 9 and simply don't include it. So you're going to proceed to the next number already. Third, repeat step 2 for hours. On how you obtain or how you get the number of sets in the days, it is how you get the number of digits or the number of hours included in the study. So fourth, repeat step 2 for minutes. As what you did in hours and days, it is how you are going to obtain the number of sets in minutes. Fifth, link the days, hours, and minutes in the order they were obtained. So you are going to link them, the days, the minutes, and the hours, and how they were obtained, or the order in which they are aligned. So the last, the sixth, place the observation times in chronological order. So after getting all the days, the hours, and minutes, after making it a table, for simplicity, you need to put or arrange it in a chronological order for a better comparison of work sampling and time study.